Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the drain tiles, the airflow pipes are going in today. It's PSGF Part 3. That's right, the passive solar green frame is ready to start phase 3. Actually, I've already gotten started. I'm now sitting in the bottom of the structure where I have the intake tubes all taken care of. Now, we put those together earlier, so let me talk about those real quickly. So we measured out the tubes, so we would have a cap on one end, and we'd have the intake and the outtake tubes going up, the elbow of the 6-inch PVC piping. And then we have some couplers that are going to have all the weeping tile, the tubing to get connected to it. So I went ahead and I measured out where they were going to be, how I was going to place them, and we put them all together. The 6-inch base pipes are ready to have some holes drilled in them. I have the caps on the one end, and I have the intake and outtake sides all put together. So we have 5 markings here to try to get these into here. Now there's 2 ways, well there's probably more than 2, there's 2 ways we can drill our hole into our piping here. And one of them is with a hole saw onto the drill. I'm not sure if my drill is going to be powerful enough, get enough torque to do this. But I've been told if you have a really powerful hole saw and some really strong material, you can really, create some, you can hurt yourself almost. It can pull and tug on you pretty tight. So we're going to get a starter hole started with here, and we'll see if our drill hole, our hole saw, can get through this piping. And we have to drill out 5 holes on this side. So these will sit here, and then the next row will be up here, every other. So 5 on the bottom, 4 on top. We'll talk about that a little bit more after we get this all set up. First hole, let's give it a try. Now this is measured loosely, it doesn't have to be precise, but we're going to try to do our best to keep this on this plane. That was pretty good. It was too low a torque before. I switched it over to 2 instead of 1. And there we have our first hole. And that's where the air is going to go through the piping all the way down. And we get this in here. Fits really nice. These little latches right here will squeeze in. It'll sit in the pipe and it won't come back out. We won't put those in though till all the holes have been drilled. Now, the next thing to consider is I have to make sure that the intake pipe is going to be one corner over here, and then the outtake has to be in this corner over here. So you can see this tube up here will go up high. So for the best and most consistent airflow, all kinds of physics involved here that I don't truly understand, but we have to go down this side. The air is all going to come through these tubes and have equal distance, all of them, to this tube, and equal distance to this, and come back up as the warm or cool air depending upon the time of day, night, or season. So if it's going to go, the air is going to be sucked down from the hot green frame, or the greenhouse portion in the summer. The hot air is going to come down into these tubes underground and come over here. It's got to come up here. So I need the holes to be coming out on this side. The same side, actually, I just carved those out, with the intake valve and the outtake valve going up on the left side. I got to make sure I put the holes right there. Otherwise, it would have been a wasted pipe. So there we have side 2. We did side 1 before. Now we are set to put in the black couplers and put the tubes in there. But before we do that, we actually have to put some bases down at the bottom here so this lays really nice and parallel, or actually level, I should say. We have to plumb it up so it's level. More left to right this way. We want it to be level as possible. This isn't quite as important as this. So we're going to get some wood pieces to cut some grooves in to have this 6-inch pipe sit right in the groove of the wood. We're going to put one on this side, one on this side, and then we can check on maybe the pipes and start laying them out and see if they'll fit across. I've got 100 feet with 9 of them, 10 feet each. We have plenty of piping. So I've created the wood structures. It's kind of holding in the pipes, a little bit of groove in the wood there. Here's the other one. Now they're not on the back side because I'm going to put some sand in there. Get to fill in some more sand today so we can really level that out nice. And then with the rocks that are coming later today too, we'll put some rocks in there too. Some river rock to kind of keep it nice and sturdy in that really level situation. So the 2 base pipes are done with 5 holes in the bottom, but I said we needed 9 to go across, and here's why we're going to put 9. We put 5 across the bottom, and they go straight across. And then we're going to bury that with a layer of river rock just up to the top of the drain piping. And then this next series is going to go this way right here and come up and over a little bit, almost like a kind of a J or J bracket or something, L bracket. And it's going to come up here. It'll be a little bit higher than the rock right here and a little offset from these two. So right in the middle of these two. And so with the theories of thermal mass and what they've discovered and what Rob Avis from Verge Permaculture, if you want to check out the links below to where I got most of my information, this pipe up here is going to be warming up more soil and rocks up here, and this pipe down here is going to warm up the rocks and sand and earth here, and so we have more thermal mass. Whereas if we just had a row of 9 of them right straight across, we would have thermal mass right here and not as much up here. So by putting this up here, this is going to give us a whole second row of pipes, 4 instead of 5, but 4 up here, that'll produce more thermal mass in total cumulative than if we just had 5 across. Don't know the specifics of that, but it kind of makes logical sense when you think about it. More air passing through, more heat, heating up more rocks means more heat all together. So we've got to drill 4 more holes on these pipes to make that a finished deal where we can add our stuff. When this pipe sits this way, when it's vertical, we have our 2 pipes going this way, this pipe going this way, and this is going to come up and curve up here about 6 inches or so, 8 inches from the bottom row. And so all of this will be thermal mass instead of just this right here. So I have this really nice and level right now, from left to right. We'll come up here and measure this one. And that's looking good too. So we want the airflow this way to be as level as possible. So now that I have it at level, I'll be able to get some more sand. Now again, I said I have some river stone coming. That's not here yet. So we're just getting a little bit of sand on the outside of this to make sure it stays relatively straight now until we get these pipes in here where we want them. And then the river stone to provide that thermal mass layer. So I'm going with river stone instead of just the sand for the first layer. Buying that much rock would have been super expensive to fill the whole thing up with river stone. So we're just doing the outside or the bottom couple of feet with river stone. The rest will be sand, and then the very top will be some gray decorative rock for the inside of the greenhouse. But right now, we got some sand in here that's holding this in place nice and level. When making the final decisions on how many tubes to put in and where to space them, that all came from the program that I purchased from Rob Avis over at Verge Permaculture. He's up in Canada, and he's been consulting on these pastel solar green frames and what he calls permaculture. He's worked on a ton of greenhouses. He has a lot of case studies out there, so many YouTube videos. And the program that he sends out to you for a small fee gives you kind of the scope and sequence of how you're going to put together your passive solar greenhouse, or in my case, green frame. And so I was able to space out my tubes based on his suggestions. Now they're slightly different, slightly off. My initial measurements, 12 by 6 on the inside dimensions, are a little bit smaller. I think I can get away with the tubing that I have. We got 6 inches based on his recommendation. We'll have a fan that'll blow through air very, very economically through this system. And we've got 9 pipes going back and forth. The rocks were delivered yesterday while I was working on all this putsy taping, duct taping, getting all these tubes in the right place. Now we have to make sure all the water comes out, because last night we had over 2 inches of rain. I have a bucket up in my garage area that was empty, and there's over 2 inches of rain in the bucket. We were just deluged with a whole bunch of rain. It's supposed to get back up into the 90s today, so it's gonna be a hot and humid, sticky day with all this moisture here. So we're gonna jump start on the day earlier, still gray overcast, and it's a little bit cooler right now. So we gotta drain these pipes of any extra water. We're gonna get them all out. We're gonna set up our tube cutting station, and we are gonna start making some tubes to go across and then bring a whole bunch of rocks into place. So the intake and the exhaust side are in place, and we have to go from coupling over here over to coupling over here, and we're gonna put the bottom layer in first. As a reminder, we're putting the bottom layer in first so we can put that layer in, then put some more rocks on top of that, and then this top layer here will come up a little bit and sit a little bit higher for better thermal mass. So we're gonna go ahead and measure. These are pretty much where they're gonna be. Let's double check. And we have a little bit of give either way, just in case. And so we're gonna measure a little bit long, and we can always trim back. Measure twice, cut once. I've got 106 inches from edge to edge. 106 inches. Not quite 9 feet. 106 inches. If we pushed it back, we couldn't even go to 9 feet. So the bottom row, we're gonna go with 106 inches. So we're gonna go cut the first pipe at 106, we'll bring it in here, we'll give it a test, and then we'll cut the rest of them. So the weeping tile or draining tile, or in this case, air tubes for us, perforated and socked. And they come in 100-foot rolls. I need 9 to go across at about 9 feet. We're gonna open this up and we're gonna start doing some measurement and get these into place. The bottom 4 pipes are cut. Let's put them in. We got all 5 of the bottom row in snugly. They fit in real nice. Those couplers have real nice bendable secure straps where you push it on and it goes and collects and it hits on the perforation of the tubes and sits there and holds on real nice. So now the next thing we have to do would be to put the rocks in. But before we can put the rocks in, I want to make sure I get my upward tubes now in place. And I also am going to place a couple of extra PVC piping down here where I can put some temperature sensors so I know how warm or cool it is at any given time. So I think I'm going to put a sensor right here on the back north wall, and I think I'm going to put a sensor over on this wall over here, though, the east wall. I might just stick with the 2, and I'll let them sit above ground and cut the final distance later. But I will get those PVC pipings. I'm going to put some screen around the bottom to protect them from any, I don't think any critters will get down here, but we'll protect it from any of that kind of stuff. So we'll get that set up. We'll get our tubes cut to length, and then the rocks, which is the hard, hot, sweaty stuff to do. The clouds are breaking and I'm already sweating because it's so damp right now. It's gonna be a hot morning. It's time now to put the intake tube on the bottom tube down here. This is gonna be the one that's gonna go up into the greenhouse. It's gonna collect all the hot air from the highest part of the greenhouse and bring it down into the climate battery down here, is what they call it sometimes. So we're gonna go ahead and glue this up and put the big pipe on. Now this is a 10-foot pipe, which is probably a little large, but we are 4 feet plus underground, so it means about 6 feet above ground, and the greenhouse top will be at about 10 feet. So I'll be able to put an elbow up there, and that'll be able to get the heat right at a really good height in the greenhouse. So no cutting involved, no waste. This is going to be really nice and strong. When all the rocks are in here to support it, things will stay real nice and tidy. So this will be the exhaust side of the passive solar green frame. Intake is over there, the 10 feet from the hot heat of the greenhouse top. Goes down, filters the air through, and it comes up here. And then it's going to come up above the greenhouse floor, elbow this way, and release the nice warm air into the greenhouse. So we're going to cut this one to height. I think 5 feet should do it. We got our pipe cut to 5 feet. We've got some cement. Here we go. Here we have it. We'll let these two dry and we'll start bringing in some rocks. The sun is out in all its glory now. I'm in shirt number 3 for the day, and I'm going to do a couple more wheelbarrows here before I take another break. Just had a nice long break in the house, air conditioning, ate some food, drank some water, rehydrating, but we're going to keep going. So the tubes with the heavier rocks, the bigger 1.5 inch river rock, kind of settles underneath the tubes and wants to raise them up a little bit. So, excuse me, I have a really nice plastic skid or pallet that I was able to put on top for weight to hold the tubes down. And so when I bring the rocks in, I dump them over here with the wheelbarrow. They hit the wood here and kind of disperse, but this heavy, really nice skid here is preventing that from coming up. So we'll get the rocks. We're almost covering this section over here. We'll get some more over here, and then the first section will be all covered. We'll get that done probably in about another 4 to 6 wheelbarrows, and then we'll consider putting on the next tubes and doing part 2 maybe later on this afternoon. So back at it. The first layer is complete. I have the river rock over the first layer of tubes, and all we can see now is the black couplers sticking up for the next layer, a little dark down there. So now we're gonna cut those tubes and get ready with that. Measured those at 112, so additional 6 inches. We'll cut 4 at 112 and put those in. The next set of pipes are in. The first one was a little tight, so I went to 114 for the other 3. Worked out a little bit nicer. We've got the pallet, keeping it down, separated real nice. We've got our diffuser for the rocks. We'll put the rocks in here and get the rocks just above, about a couple inches above this row, and then the rest will all be sand up to the top. And then we'll put some rocks on the top layer for me to walk on. It is hot. It is the mid-80s, dew point at about 67 degrees. Shirt number 3 is soaked, and the kids want to go to the Dairy Queen. So I think it's time for a break, some treats, some air conditioning, and we'll tackle this when the sun is behind the tree. I think I've lost count of my shirts. I think this is 4. Came out after 6 p.m. after dinner for about 8 to 10 more wheelbarrows full of Riverstone to go ahead and put into the PSGF. Standing on the west edge, southwest corner actually, there is the vent that's going to bring up the cool air in the summertime, and it's going to bring up the warm air in the wintertime. We've got most of the tubes covered. We can see a little bit of the white sheeting there. But now we can take the skid out, the pallet, and now just dump some wheelbarrows. We're almost done. Probably about another half a dozen wheelbarrows. We'll level all this out, and then sand will finish the job. But it's time for another break already. We can do this in the morning when it'll be at least 15-20 degrees cooler. Temps right now at 6 o'clock in the evening, upper 80s, feels like 93 or 4, dew point at 68 degrees. A productive day, a lot of sweat, probably lost 5 pounds. We're getting so close, super exciting. We'll catch you in the morning, and we'll see if we can finish this up to the tippy top.